It happens to all of us. A new CPU, more RAM, more storage. We buy these phones that are supposed to bring us joy, but once the years pass, we stop enjoying them. Something you once loved is now something that brings you shame. You see people walking around with iPhones, S9s, Note 9s, and you don't want them to see your A5 from 2015. Having said that, what happened today was a miracle.
Oh shit.
The time had come to buy a new phone.
Daydream. I fell asleep amid the flowers for a couple of hours.
The best smartphone camera in the market. Now I can see Google Feed and not the Flipboard shit. I love the notification bar in Android Pie. Round icons, I love them. And the battery is great. I love how quick this phone is. Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome to a new video of Techno State. It has been a long time, I know, but we are back, stronger than ever, and today I'm bringing you the review of the Google Pixel 3a XL. It's a long name, I know. My voice is not okay, I know, but I'm going to do this video anyway, because I really felt like recording again. So I think I already did enough introduction with the sketch at the beginning and all of that, so let's jump right into it. So, I'm going to start talking about the body of the phone as I usually do. First, I think this is a very sexy body. I really like it. I think it is one of the nicest phones that are out in the market nowadays. And I'm not saying this because I bought it. I was already thinking this before buying it. It's more, I bought it in part by that. Only in a small part, but in part by that. It's built out of plastic though, so we don't have a glass back, which would be helpful, for example, to have wireless charging. We don't have no wireless charging on this phone as expected, but I still think it's a very good build. It's very comfortable in the hand, and this is the big model. I'm going to talk about the screen a bit later on. It is difficult to fit in your pockets, especially if you have small pockets, but it is very comfortable in the hand. It has very good button quality. I love the buttons of this phone. And if you choose the blue color, for example, or whichever color that is not the black one that I chose, because I love black, you get the button with another color that I also love, just like Marques Brownlee loves it. So, fortunately, we do have a headphone jack in this model. As you know, the Pixel 3, the normal 3 XL, didn't have a headphone jack, so it's weird that the expensive model of this phone doesn't have a headphone jack, and that this one does. Just in case you don't know what review you're watching, the Pixel 3a XL is like a cheaper version of the Pixel 3 XL. It has a processor that's not so good and some things that are not as good as the bigger brother, but some main things, like for example the camera, are still basically the same. But going back to the headphone jack, even though we have a headphone jack, there's two quite big problems. I wouldn't recommend this headphone jack. If you're a hardcore audio fan, don't use this headphone jack, not because of the quality of the audio or whatever, but there have been a lot of issues with the headphone jack not working. My phone specifically does work in that aspect, but when I put play, for example, with a headphone that is plugged into the headphone jack and not through Bluetooth, it takes some good 20 seconds to start playing the song unless I play it directly from the phone. And that's not even the worst part. The worst part is, you see I have this microphone here. Well, I have it plugged into another phone, and I'm going to sync the audios with both, because the microphone doesn't seem to work properly on the phone. And it does also so when I have a headset plugged in, it doesn't recognize the microphone, or it recognizes it but it doesn't work correctly. So basically the microphone doesn't work, at least in this model, and if you plug it, if you're listening to audio through cable, you can't really rely on the play and pause function of the pause, yes, but not on the play function of your headset. This is really a big issue. I hope your phone doesn't have it if you get it, but mine does, and I know that a lot of other phones have it even worse. So going to the next thing, we have USB-C with fast charging. I'm going to talk a bit more about the fast charging feature later on. We do have a fingerprint reader on the back, so many of you like having it maybe under the screen. It's not the case with this phone, but it's a very snappy fingerprint reader. You don't have to turn on the phone to use it, like with the iPhones, for example. You can just, with the iPhones, with the face unlock feature of the iPhone, I mean, no? You can just rest your finger on the fingerprint reader and it unlocks quite fast. Then we have a special function, that is the squeeze function. The new Pixels now have an option that lets you squeeze the two sides of the phone to do certain things. More specifically, I think you can mute or unmute your phone. You can use Google Assistant and other stuff like that. And I think this is a very good idea, but it was not utilized to its full potential. Because we only have three options. I know that we can use the Google Assistant, we can mute or unmute the phone, and then there was another third one that I don't remember, but it doesn't let you remap it. So then if I would love to have a certain app that I could open with the squeeze function or anything, just turn on the flashlight. I would love to be able to turn on turn on the flashlight this way, but I can't. I'm sure there's apps that you can download that let you do this. I'm sure there's ways of doing it, but Google, come on. Give us the option from the beginning to be able to do it. So okay, it's a good idea, but it was not utilized to its full potential. Then we have the speakers. The speakers are a pretty good pair of speakers. It's a stereo speaker. We have the front-facing speaker on the top of the phone, and then on the bottom of the phone we have what seems like two smaller speakers. And it's very common in phones that one of these is really a speaker and that the other one is just an echo chamber. But in this case it's not even an echo chamber. It's just for the phone to be symmetrical, as you can see in Marques Brownlee's review of the phone. Okay, so we finished with build. Now we're going to talk about the display, and I'm very glad to see the smaller brother of the Pixel 3 doesn't have a notch. The Pixel 3 XL had a huge notch that bothered a lot of people, including me, but this phone thankfully doesn't have it. We do have a big chin and a big part on the top, a bit like an S8 or S9, but I prefer this over the huge notch that we had in the other model. We also have an OLED display, so that is a very good feature to have. It's a 6-inch display and the definition is of 2160 by 1080 with 401 pixels per inch. And remember that I mentioned the OLED display. The OLED display really helps with the always-on display that we have the option to activate it, which I really love. It displays the time, it displays the temperature and the climate of where you are right now. If you have any upcoming activities, it shows that to you too. If you have any messages or any notifications, it shows that to you too. It shows the battery on the bottom of the always-on display, and one of its best features is that if there's music playing nearby, the phone recognizes it and it shows it to you on the always-on display. And you don't even have to turn on your phone, you already have the name of the song and the artist of the song right there, which I think is great. We also have an 18:9 aspect ratio, as you were expecting. For me this is great because I come from a Samsung Galaxy A5 from 2015, which didn't have this. It had a 16:9, although it is sometimes difficult when you are using apps that don't support this, so many times you will have black bars on the sides. And lastly, the brightness, which is not really that great. If you want to use this phone outdoors a lot, you'll have to get used to a display that doesn't really illuminate that much. And also the colors are not that accurate. It's a bit more orange, you could say, than what it should be. Okay, talking about the internals now, we have a Snapdragon 670 and an Adreno 615, which I would say are good enough for most of the things you want to do, but not for games. And this is a weird one, because I've played games in this phone, And games like Asphalt 9 or PUBG that really are difficult games to handle were handled perfectly by this phone. They ran very smoothly. But then when I tried to run games like, for example, Subway Surfers or one that I think was called Safari Zoo, they didn't run so well. So the games that are supposed to be easy to run, I can't run as good as the ones that are more difficult to run. So it's weird. If you want a gaming phone, you should check out for the Razer phone or the how is it called, Republica ROG phone, but not this one. Okay, talking about RAM and ROM now, we only have one option in this phone specifically, which has 64 gigabytes of ROM I mean, and 4 gigabytes of RAM. Many people will think that 4 gigabytes is too little. I think it's okay for my use and for the use of most of the people. I think 4 gigabytes is more than enough, but and here I'm a bit overkill. 64 gigabytes of ROM is a bit too little for me specifically, because I already found myself low on space a couple of times.